Hello, my name is Jessica Hathaway, and this is a video on Aztec Mathematics for History of Mathematics class. Who are the Aztec people and where did they come from? The Aztecs were Native American people who dominated northern Mexico at the time of the Spanish conquest led by Cortez in the early 16th century. The legend has it that they originated from a place called Aztlan, somewhere in the north and northwest. The term Aztec originally associated with migrant Mexicans, which today is a collective term applied to all people linked by trade, custom, religion, and language to the founders. The Aztecs, who were also known to be fearless warriors and builders, their empire was suppressed in size during the 15th century. As early text and modern technology continue to reveal beyond their quest and many of their religious practices, there were still some positive achievements. The formation of highly specialized and strategic society and an impressive administration that expanded of a trading network as well as a tribute system. The development and maintenance of the sophisticated agriculture economy carefully adjusted to the land and the civilization of the intellectual and religion outlook that held the civilization together. The Aztecs' migration continued for 2 centuries along with warfare, then that's when they finally settled in today what's known as Mexico City. The Aztecs chose an uninhabited island, Lake Texcoco, the year between 1325 and 1345. The difference in the year is because of the dates on the Mesoamerican calendar, which has a 52-year calendar cycle. They named their settlement Tenochtitlan. The Aztecs paid patron to the Huitzilopochtli, the god of war and the symbol of the sun, making this a lethal combination. It was said that every day that the young warriors used weapons of the sunlight to drive the sky, the creature of the darkness that was the stars and moon. Every evening he dies and the Aztecs said he would return. In order to regain his strength from returning, he had to have some form of substance. So his substance was human blood. The Aztecs had such a large amount of sacrifices that they had to build more buildings and build more temples. The sacrifices were done on top of great pyramids, and this was the location of their sacrifices. Even though the pyramid was enlarged in 1487, the ceremonies of rededication involved so much bloodshed that the line of victims stretched as far as outside the city, and the onslaught could easily last over 4 days. This is because the god favored the hearts that were torn from the bodies offered to him. This was not limited to, but every February, children were sacrificed. Along with in March, prisoners would be sacrificed. The prisoners were dressed in gladiator clothing and fought to the death. And once they died, the priests would dress up in their skins. Having all the sacrifices led to many wars. The Aztecs have contributed to modern day science in ways we have not looked into. The Aztecs were the first to mandate education for everyone, many countries during this time had it available for the upper class, but the Aztecs had it made available not only to gender, but rank and station. To the Aztecs, being educated was very important. School children of today can actually thank the Aztecs for developing education for all children. The Aztecs believed that education started in the home, that the girls learned domestic chores and the boys learned their father's trade, which still in some places stand true today. The children were given small amounts of food to learn how to squash their appetites so that they would understand the value of what they had. It was the boys that were given under hardships of exposures to extreme temperatures in order to help develop Yolitilo, a heart of stone. That was a part of their warrior training. From ages 12 to 15, children were required to go to school, known as Salicio, or the House of Song. This is where the children learned ceremony songs and the cosmology of their people. Education for the girls was stopped at age 15, but between the ages of 15 to 20 years old, the boys of commoners attended school known as Telopalisi, or where they spent the night as well. The nature of their studies were primarily for military in nature. The sons of nobles, however, attended a different school where they stayed in residence and had military training to enhance their abilities such as agriculture, math, painting, and history. This is also how priests and government officials were chosen. So how did the Aztecs use mathematics? Well, the Aztecs had a number system that was based on the 20, unlike us where we are based on the 10. The Aztecs used dots and glyphs to represent the notation. For the first 9 numbers, which were a series of dots, were kells of corn. The 10 was represented by a diamond, and the 20 was represented by flags and different feathers. And the bag of cacao beans represented 8,000. For example, 500 would be a feather, 5 flags, which would be 400 plus 5 times 20, which would give you 500. When things were grouped together, they would use lines to draw connections. For example, you would have a flag, and there is 4 flags, and there's a line to draw the connections. So that would be 4 times 20, which would give you 80, which was the representation. This was also a way to keep track of everything they had, from food to clothing. Something interesting is that Aztecs didn't have a symbol for a 0. The Aztecs' number system was mirrored similar to the Egyptians. Also, the positions of the symbols for the numbers could be grouped in any order and written adjacent to each other. This was said to be the only technical documents that they had of the Aztecs. Something that's also related, that we can relate to today, is that we all pay taxes, which the Aztecs also understood was quite difficult to do. The Aztecs' ancient texts were extremely detailed and well organized because landowners had to pay tribute according to the value of their holdings. The Aztecs also had fractional symbols like hearts, hands, and arrows that usually today didn't look like anything, but actually was useful. The Aztecs used this to relate to the human body. For example, the heart, when you stretch out your left arm, will measure the distance between the tip of your heart to your finger. But if you stretched out both arms, that would be the measurement from the distance between the tip of your finger to your heart. This was the beginning of measurements and the distance. This calculation also helped calculating the area of land for farming and building. The heart, the hand, and the arrows symbolized individual units similar to feet and inches that we use today. This was such an advanced method of doing math that they carefully tracked movements of celestial bodies. This includes the sun, the stars, and other planets. The fall of the Aztec Empire had more than one factor to the cause. One of the top reasons being the sacrifices, the killing of thousands of people, whether you and your neighbors simply cannot be good for a society, and the loss of people were impossible to calculate. There's also the epidemic of diseases that they had to deal with. When they had different cultures coming in, when they had taken overs, and the Spanish army followed Cortez in landing in Mexico, and another army from a Spanish army that followed him from Cuba to make sure he followed his order. Along with a group was an African that had been held as a slave that happened to have smallpox, which is also very contagious. The theory is that how the smallpox was spread, once the soldiers were beginning to retreat after the war, the Aztecs went to loot the bodies of the soldiers, which caused them bringing back the disease with them to their society. The Aztec society had many ups and downs, but the mass contributors have made an impact that only how we can see as mathematics, but as a cultural in itself. It may not seem like there's a lot of mathematics in it, but in order to keep track of food and people and space that you own, you have to have some form of math in that, which is used today. And for that, we should be grateful for the Aztec Empire.